I've said this for a long time. It is 100% true. A good state championship caliber high school boys team would smoke the best team in the WNBA.
I mean, you're not wrong.
For many sports fans, what Clay Travis said is nowhere near controversial, as it's an opinion based in sporting reality. But what do you know? Chelsea Gray, a WNBA player who plays for this year's WNBA Champions, the Las Vegas Aces, well, she had a problem with the statement.
I want problems, always.
And responded to Travis by calling him a dumbass. Gray's response to Travis undoubtedly brought more problems to the already problem-riddled WNBA, as Travis doubled down in his response to her by offering to put up
$1 million
in a WNBA versus high school boys basketball showdown. Unsurprisingly, Gray, the Aces, nor the WNBA have responded to Travis's offer, seemingly aware of the reality of what would unfold in such a game. Nonetheless, this has left many sports fans, some that don't even care or watch basketball, very interested and willing to pay to watch this potential face-off. And look, there have been other...
Now, I'm not going to lie, I do not watch WNBA games because the WNBA is boring as hell. But if they was to do this game, I would definitely watch it. Even if it was on pay-per-view, I would definitely pay to see it.
Battle of the sexes in sports before that went, well, as expected, such as a professional men's soccer team from the UK recently destroying a US women's team 12-0.
Jarvis, there it is. Game over. 12-0. Wrexham defeats the US women.
Damn.
Or a few years back when the US women's national soccer team played an under-15 boys side behind closed doors and lost. But in a 1973 tennis match, Billie Jean King did defeat former Wimbledon champion and a very overly confident Bobby Riggs.
Girls play a nice game of tennis for girls, but when they get out there on a court with a man, even a tired old man of 55, they're going to be in big trouble.
The tennis match saw 90 million people worldwide tune in and is still considered one of the most watched televised sporting events of all time. In other words, an exhibition game between a WNBA team and a high school boys state championship team would be a massive marketing and financial opportunity for the WNBA and the players that take part in that game.
Now, let me just say this about that tennis match, right? For those of y'all who don't know, I mean, if you can't tell by the footage, that shit was like at least 50 years ago. And a lot of women, you know, use that as an example of how women can compete with men in sports. But the reality of that situation is if you look at how lopsided the table was in order for her to be able to beat him, I mean, he was in like his 50s at the time. And so even though he might have been a former Wimbledon champion, he was also old and he didn't have the stamina and the, you know, athleticism that he once had. So in order for women to beat men, the scale has to be like supremely lopsided, right? But the reason why this high school basketball game would be interesting is because, like for myself, you know, as an example, once upon a time when I was in high school, I went to high school with Nazir Muhammad, who ended up being an NBA player. And like I was coming out of class one day and he was standing in the hallway and he was all of 7 feet tall. He's one of the biggest people I ever seen in my life with my own two eyes. And I just couldn't imagine anybody that I know, some of the guys that I know, being able to beat him in basketball, let alone any of the women that I know who could actually hoop, having a decent chance of actually beating him in a one-on-one game or any sort of team game. So the reality is the level of athleticism that men are able to accomplish is something that women are just not able to reach. They always want to use the example of, you know, some women can do something that a man can do, but the reality is it's usually a woman who has received training versus a man who does not have the same level of training. So when the playing field is even and you have a man and a woman who have received the same amount of training, then the reality is that the man is going to win at least 9 times out of 10.
If you threw that game on pay-per-view, I really think millions of people would tune in. The game would have too many underlying narratives for it not to draw impressive numbers. You know, it would draw those purely interested in the spectacle. It would draw people who wish to see two different genders compete against each other. It would draw both the supporter of the WNBA as well as all the haters of the WNBA. And sure, some might argue that the WNBA would never do this as it's a lose-lose situation. Either the WNBA team loses to a high school team and gets ridiculed, or they beat the high school team and aren't given credit for it as they only beat high schoolers. However,
That's like back in the day whenever a guy would try to fight a girl. It's like if you won, you're supposed to win because you a guy. And then if she whoop your ass, then this is going to be one of the most embarrassing losses that you ever suffered.
there are many possible wins in this for the WNBA. First, taking part in the game would probably earn that 12-woman roster more money in a single game than they might make their entire WNBA career if the game is on pay-per-view. Second, since most basketball fans understand the level of top high school boys, the WNBA team wouldn't even necessarily have to win. Just keeping the game close and competitive would be massively impressive and might increase respect for the league. Remember, before rule changes, players could go straight to the NBA from high school. Think Kobe, LeBron, KG, T-Mac, and we gotta show some love to the Rain Man Sean Kemp. So it's highly likely the WNBA team would be facing off against some players that have the talent to be in the NBA. Thus, a close loss is actually quite respectable. Lastly, this game would undoubtedly be the most watched game WNBA players have ever been a part of.
I mean, you got to think of this, right? If those young boys are ready for high school, then that means they are over ready for the WNBA. So 9 times out of 10, this game would not be as competitive as people think it would be, but it probably would still be interesting to watch.
Therefore, it would be the biggest marketing opportunity ever presented to the league. So actually, the only way the WNBA and its team loses in this scenario is if the high school team absolutely obliterates them. This fact makes the WNBA's silence to this challenge deafening, as it reveals they, like everyone else, knows what's up. And that's that they would absolutely get destroyed. Again, this is not meant to be disrespectful, it is just a fact. Let's add some context to this debate by taking a look at the Mount Verde High School boys team. This is a school, by the way, that boasts alumni such as Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and D'Angelo Russell, just to name a few. Their current roster consists of center Derek Queen, the number 12 prospect in his class, coming in at 6'10", 240 pounds.
Now, this is similar to what I was talking about when I was in high school. Like I said, when I came out of my classroom and you see somebody all of 7 feet tall standing in the hallway, he was built like a grown man. He was probably about 250 pounds at the time. So it's not like you're talking about somebody that's just easy to move and easy to get past when it comes to playing sports. Like Nazir Muhammad might not have been the best NBA player, but I watched him hoop on the court, and, you know, for all us regular guys, he ain't had nothing to worry about.
Power forward Asa Newell, the number 13 prospect in his class, coming in at 6'9", 205 pounds. At small forward, we have Cooper Flagg, the number 1 prospect in his class at 6'8", basically 200 pounds. Shooting guard, Liam McNeely, the number 15 prospect in his class, 6'7", almost 200 pounds. Then at point guard, we have the little Rob Wright, only the number 30 prospect in his class, coming in at 6 foot, basically 170 pounds. Come on! If anyone thinks a WNBA team is winning against that high school boys team, in the words of a wise basketball oracle, they are
Delusional.
And if someone wants to make the argument that Mount Verde isn't a state champion as they only compete on a national level and therefore wouldn't qualify to be a team in this situation, okay, sure, but that's basically a cop-out and is admitting that some high school teams would indeed beat WNBA teams, which is ultimately the point Travis and others are making. And to stress again, that's fine, as males and females are different with different athletic capabilities, which is often reflected in other sports where adjustments are made because of this fact. Let's think of volleyball. But I digress. Let's go ahead and look at another potential matchup for a WNBA squad. A Florida State champion from this past year, the Christopher Columbus basketball team. They boast a starting 5 of Cam Boozer, the second-ranked prospect in his class, who comes in at 6'9", 225 pounds. dudes. Then Malik Abduhali, who is 6'8" and has committed to play D1 at Princeton. Next up, we got Caden Boozer, who is the 16th prospect in his class, who comes in at 6'5". To finish off the lineup, we got Angelo Miranda, who's coming in at 6'4", and Benny Fragella, who's coming in at 6'3". And a little fun fact, the Boozers on this team are the sons of former NBA player Carlos Boozer. But anyway, if we really examine the matchup between the Las Vegas Aces and this Columbus squad, we'll see the boys would always have the majority of the tallest players on the court, while always having the faster, stronger, higher jumping players in a sport where those attributes intersect and often matter in success. You know, real talk. Real talk! Anyone who thinks an undersized, less athletic WNBA team is beating that boy squad is probably on crack! But ultimately, for the majority of sports fans who would die to see this matchup, there's almost no chance we'll ever witness a WNBA team take on a high school boys state champion. Nonetheless, I stand firm in the opinions that it would bring in loads of money for the WNBA if done via pay-per-view, that it would be the biggest marketing opportunity the league has ever had, and that it could actually increase respect for the league if they were able to hold their own. However, if a game like this ever does happen, make the same bet as the UConn women's head coach, Gino Auriemma.
I'm going to go to the ATM, and I'm going to sell my house, and I'm going to put all my money
on the boys team. Anyway.
Facts. So look, right. Let me just be honest. I think the real issue of the WNBA is that the talent pool that they have, it just doesn't grow fast enough. And so because of that, the game is not interesting enough to most people. So when you look back when the WNBA first started, one of the advantages that they had was that everybody had been sitting on the sideline for so long. So during the first couple of years, not only did you have the women who were coming out of college at that particular year, you also had women who basically have been misplaced for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And so you had a really great pool of talent. And so for the first 4, 5, maybe even 6 seasons of the WNBA, it was interesting. But once those ladies who are now the WNBA legends, once they started to retire, the league got to the point that it is right now, where it's just this boring, underwhelming, layup-filled, basic dunk league. And so because of that, they're not going to be able to grow the talent pool at a fast enough rate to keep the fan interest at a level where the league can be profitable. You add that in with the fact that they're not willing to lower the rim, and then you realize that the game is pretty much just going to stay boring. Like I was having this conversation in the barbershop a couple of days ago with a couple of the guys that was in there, and they were talking about, you know, they think the thing that the WNBA needs to do is to expand. And I'm like, you don't expand your debt, you reduce it. So with the WNBA losing $10 million a year, I don't see how adding more teams makes the league better. It would actually just water it down even more than it already is. And I don't think anybody wants to see a worse version than the version that we're already watching. And I think one of the main problems that the WNBA has is that it does not resonate with women. So if women are given a choice of supporting a group of women who play basketball or any other sport, or they're given a choice to watch the Real Housewives or fill in the blank, that's where all their support is going. That's where all their money is going. So the only support that the WNBA really has right now is from older men who like basketball with fundamentals and diehard fans who really are just follow you anywhere. Because one of the other things that they suffer from is that, you know, when you look at the college level games, it might be 100,000 people who know you and really love you and are rooting for you. But once you actually make it to the WNBA, those people don't follow you. They continue to follow the college that you were at. So if you were a UConn Husky and you won 4 championships, they might check in on your games every once in a while. But the problem is the rest of your teammates, they didn't go to that college, and those fans don't have the same connection with them that they have with you. So, you know, you may get a little bit of viewership and a little bit of support from those people, but if y'all games are boring or boring in comparison to the college level games, then you can't expect people to watch it. I mean, there's a lot of sports fans out there, but we want to watch something that's entertaining. And this is not just like, a charity league just because y'all are women. You have to actually go out there and put on an entertaining product, something that people will actually want to watch and spend their money on, and not buy front row tickets and take the best nap that you've ever had in your life.
We can go. All right, man, come on. You do it the easy way or the hard way. Sir, easy way or the hard way. Get up. What? Sir, easy way or the hard way. Wait, what happened? Come on, get up. You need to get up and go. Get up. Come on, sit up.
Is it against the law to take naps?
Get up, sir.
You can't even take a nap at the WNBA games. What is this? North Korea? Bro, you can't take a courtside nap? Yo, free me! I'm a prisoner of sleep apnea. Save me! Move.
But that's it for this video. As always, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment down below, and hit the notification bell so you can get the alert when future content is posted. I'm your man D Cannon. This is the Dust Up, and I'm out.